being present in the moment versus the pressure of working and being the CEO. Like, they're just so blended. And so you constantly are asking yourself, how do I do this well? What does doing this well look like? What does success running these businesses and raising babies look like?
The team was great. My husband's great. Like, trying to like, hey, you go do this, go relax, go rest, go be with the baby. And then I'm like, but I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't ever get to do that, you know? And
I found out I was pregnant February 26th of 2020.
Yeah.
The first case of COVID.
I remember this, yes.
March 5th, 2020. Literally a week, 7 days after the first case was diagnosed. And then like a week later, like the world was shutting down.
Welcome to Brand Talk with Rachel and Drew. I'm Rachel. I actually have Tara here today. Tara is one of my really good friends, / client, / one of my best friends, / fellow business owner. And I just wanted to have her on the podcast today because Drew's out of town, so I'm going to just do things the way that I want to.
Go girl.
And we've got Tara here, and I just like really had it on my heart to talk to our audience about raising and balancing businesses and babies. And you were the only person that I was like, felt like could have this conversation with me, because I feel like you and I we fully get that, because we have like a bunch of kids, businesses, husbands, family, all this stuff. And it's like for us to just like really put it out there, because Drew and I talk about businesses and babies and stuff, but it's not the same when you're the mom and you're the CEO of the business and you're doing stuff. All right, guys, real quick. If you're a Saloner who's tired of grinding behind the chair with nothing to show for it but a sore back and an inconsistent bank account, you need to BYOB, build your own brand. This is our signature program helping Saloners all across the country launch their own private label hair extension line under your name with your profit margins and your rules.
It's not just about services. It's about creating an actual brand that can sell while you sleep. Our students are launching their own Shopify stores, wholesaling to local stylists, and finally stepping into the CEO seat without having to reinvent the wheel.
We're literally handing you the playbook: branding, fulfillment, marketing, legal, all of it. If you've got the hustle, we've got the system.
Click the link in the description below to book a discovery call with our team. Let's build a business that works for you and not the other way around.
BYOB, because doing hair should be because you want to, not because you have to.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about you first, and like how many kids you got, you know, and what you do and all the things, just for anybody that doesn't know you. And then we can start getting into the nitty gritty of businesses and babies.
Okay, let's do it. So like Rachel said, my name's Tara. I own Ruthie Grace, which is a women's clothing business. February will be 15 years for us. So we've been doing it for a long time. Oh my
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I would actually say that Ruthie Grace is kind of like my first child. That's what I tell a lot of people, you know, because I had it before I ever became pregnant. So we are a brick and mortar retailer. So we have a storefront in downtown Montgomery, but we're also an online e-commerce store. So I have a warehouse where we ship all of our clothing out of. So it's basically like two sales channels, one brand. All the products are the same. But I am married. I've been married to my husband for 16 years. I had to think about that for a second.
Oh my gosh. You guys were babies when you got married.
We were. I was 22. Yeah, 22, and I opened Ruthie Grace at the age of 23. Looking back, when I meet 23-year-olds and I look at them and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I was that young opening my own business. Like, it just blows my mind.
And no kids at the age of 23.
Yeah.
How old were you when you had your first kid?
27.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And so Jordan and I have been married for 16 years. And like I said, we had our first child when I was 27. So as it stands right now, I have 3 boys. It's a wild, insane
And one of them
household.
was, no, but I remember when you told me that you were pregnant again.
Yeah. So my last
was like,
son.
wait, what?
My last son was not just like a surprise pregnancy, but like truly a surprise. My husband had a vasectomy. And then 2.5 years later, I was pregnant again.
Dang. And like, what are the chances of that? I remember when you told me that and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. But like the chances of it, I mean, I actually hear it's more normal than people think. Like what is it? Reconnecting, like the wires down there?
Kind of like it's, yeah.
I don't know. I'm like so ignorant to this.
I'm a science nerd at heart. So I'll tell you, it's the vas deferens, which are like the tubes that connect.
Yeah.
So when you have a vasectomy, they cut and solder the tubes. So like cauterize them.
Oh.
Every
guy listening to this is like, ouch.
They cauterize them. And So it like burns the ends so that way they don't reconnect. And his grew back apparently. Well, actually, they didn't. So first of all, when I found out I was pregnant, you have to like, we were free and clear. Like he tested that the surgery was successful, like all things. And then 2.5 years later, I got pregnant. And you have to, if you want to do round 2, vasectomy round 2, like they require you to test for a positive sample again. So Jordan had to do that. There was positive sperm in the sample. So it was like, okay. Well, first they implied like, well, we have to do this because we've seen other women get pregnant other ways, and like implying like infidelity. And that never even crossed my mind. So I was like immediately offended.
Right.
But I understand.
But I also, that's probably why you were like, no, I like scientifically have to understand this because like, and that's just how you are anyway. Like you like to know the why behind everything. And I love that. Because that's like, you're just like, no, like I need evidence, you know?
So when he went back for a second procedure, you would have expected to see the reconnection, meaning that would have proven the positive semen. But the doctor could not actually find an actual reconnection.
That's crazy.
So he sent it off to like labs to be tested because he was so like scientifically dumbfounded at like what was causing the positive result, yet there wasn't a physical reconnection. So he still performed like, he kind of went a little more aggressive, I guess you could say, with the procedure just to ensure. But he'd been practicing for 20 years, the doctor had, and Jordan was failure number 10.
Wow.
So, I mean, it can happen.
Well, you see, I mean, he wasn't the only one, it sounds like, but just like a miraculous thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah,
it's totally
I would
miraculous.
have questions if I paid, you know, if I'm like, hey, Drew and I, which Drew has not had a vasectomy. My mom is like constantly asking me about it. I'm like, Mom, it's none of your business. Stay out of it. We'll do it when we're ready. We're not ready. But, you know, if you like went to all that, and of course, you know, the recovery, which I'm sure all men milk it like a baby, you know, that they're like just down for the count. And then to find out that like not only was the surgery not successful, but you're pregnant and you weren't expecting it. Oh my gosh.
It was shocking because, okay, so I'm going to line up the timeline for you. I found out I was pregnant February 26th of 2020.
Yeah.
The first case of COVID.
I remember this, yes.
March 5th, 2020. Literally a week, 7 days after the first case was diagnosed, and then like a week later, like the world was shutting down. So I had just found out that I was pregnant, and the world was closing down, and it was just a lot all at once. And owning a retail business, and at that point, I had 3 kids. I mean, I had two boys already, so I have 3 boys, and they were 5 and 2.5. And my business was really kind of growing at that point. Like we were probably growing like an average of like 4% year over year. Just really healthy, steady growth. And we were in this weird transitional period where we had moved over the course of the business. I started brick and mortar, then I moved to a bigger brick and mortar to be able to have a little bit more backstock room for growing online when I stepped into the online space. And then eventually we actually moved to a warehouse because online was just growing so rapidly. Yeah. And at the front of my warehouse, I was like, well, I don't want to have a storefront. I want the storefront to be connected to the warehouse. And so I didn't really know where I wanted to go because like where my original building was in downtown, I just didn't want to stay in these I used to be in like these old historical buildings.
I remember the building you were in, yeah.
And they were really eclectic. They had a lot of personality, but there was a lot of downfalls to them, like low insulation. I mean, you could hardly do anything. And I just always had this dream of like this elevated, luxurious experience for my business. Like I really wanted it to be experiential in a lot of different ways. And so we basically had like a 600 square foot build out in the front of our warehouse where we let people shop. But when we moved from like high traffic to low traffic area, the storefront version of that really died. So we shut down the storefront part and went online only at the end of 2018. And then 2019 comes around and I hear about this new development that's coming into our downtown area.
Yeah.
And I signed a lease at the beginning of 2019.
I remember, I think it was like right when you found out you were pregnant.
No. Well, what happened is 2019, I signed the lease and they had expected the building to be ready like mid to end 2019.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't. And then we turn around and here comes February. I find out I'm pregnant after a failed vasectomy. And then COVID happens, and literally they turn around and tell us in April they're starting to build the the retail space. So I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm having an unexpected pregnancy. I'm going during the middle of running a business in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm about to have to build a storefront when everything physical in person has stopped.
Yeah. And expensive too, I'm sure. I mean, I remember I was building out something in, I believe, that calendar year, later that year. And it was insane how expensive everything had gotten, like supply and demand shortages and so forth.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, the price of wood was going up triple, overnight. Especially in our area in Texas, because we were just having during the pandemic, we had a mass influx of new residents moving to our state.
Moving from California and all these other places. Yeah, totally. I remember all that. Yeah.
So Stark was due October, and my storefront was set to open originally November 8th.
Wait, so you didn't even have a whole 9 months of knowing you're pregnant. You had 6 months. Or 6 months or so just by the time you found out. Yeah, because you would have never expected to be pregnant. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Most people would probably tell you I was in denial for a while. I would say not denial, but I would say very detached from the idea of being pregnant, because I just didn't feel like I had the space to even really think about it.
I get that.
I decided not to find out what he was, because I was like, I didn't even want to have to plan. I didn't plan to be pregnant.
I get that.
I didn't want to have to plan a nursery, all the things, because I was like, my sole job right now is figuring out how to keep this business going, because I was so overwhelmed by the fact that it was the pandemic and a storefront and built the building costs and everything. I mean, it was just happening so incredibly fast.
Yeah.
And so I actually didn't find out what he was until I think I was 32 weeks pregnant.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was really going through true I think pregnancy depression, probably pregnancy anxiety. I was just really struggling mentally, because I was trying so hard to power through that season. And finally, I think it was my mom, maybe my therapist, that was like, I think you should find out what the baby is and name the child, because I think it'll allow you to attach to it.
Right.
And we did, and we found out it was a boy, and his name was
another one.
Yeah. So boy number 3. But I love being a boy mom. But that was a very transitional time in our lives. So I had Stark October 7th. We opened Ruthie Grace, the brick and mortar, December 9th. I was terrified, but we had a line out the door, and people were ready to start shopping holiday again.
It was a good time.
It actually ended up being in a great time.
Yeah, and I think 2021 was a great year too. I mean, I remember the salon, obviously, like everyone's business, especially if you had brick and mortar, you took a freaking, face plant to the pavement and stayed down for quite a while. And then, as soon as everyone was reopened, whether you were at full capacity or partial capacity, I mean, people were ready to throw money and, get things done, especially hair and clothes and all of that. Looking back, I'm thinking about your story as far as when you had the e-com thing, you went fully online, at the time, maybe you don't I view that maybe period of time as that was a blessing, the fact that you were able to really get your bearings with the online space, because so many people were trying to go online during the pandemic where you had already been online.
Yes. And I was so thankful that I was. Yeah. Because ads got really cheap.
Yeah.
And I had actually learned a lesson from a previous experience early on in my career of not paying for advertising, because I thought I was good enough at organic social media to not have to pay to advertise. And I really regret not doing it when it was dirt cheap.
Totally.
But so when I started realizing people were pulling their ad dollars out and it was getting cheaper to advertise, I was like, we're going to put gas. We're going to push down the pedal. And it actually flipped the game for us. And we actually grew a ton.
I remember, I was it was COVID time. I'm chilling at home and stuff. And you and I didn't even know each other super, super well at that time or anything. I think we knew about each other or whatever, just from being local business owners. But I was man, I always saw ads. Lindsay and all her try-ons and everything. I remember seeing it all. And that was like, I was just like, damn, look at her go. Like, that's crazy, you know? Because like in my eyes, I was like, she is the most popular online women's boutique that I know of.
Well, I appreciate that.
I still feel that way about your business. So obviously you have the baby. It's October or so forth. You have the baby. It's another boy. It's Stark. Okay. Your storefront was open. No, not yet.
December 9th.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. So like 5 weeks later,
Yeah.
your storefront opens with a newborn baby that you weren't
Yep.
expecting. Okay. And you still had the online thing going, which sounds like that was doing well. The storefront did well. You had a team. I know. Was Jordan working with you at the time, or was he still doing his own thing?
So when Stark was born, Jordan took 1, maybe 2 weeks off. He was working full time in construction. And he took 2 weeks off. And we were like, at that point, like we hadn't opened the storefront yet, but our sales were really good. And our bank account looked really solid. Our cash flow was so strong. And we were like, okay, maybe this is the thing that's like going to push us for him to take the leap of faith to leave his full-time job and come work alongside me to help me grow, help me to be that support alongside me. And
Because
that
you had a brand new baby that you weren't expecting. So like, yeah, it makes sense. Like you need it. You go from, if it was just, let's say you had the unplanned pregnancy, you had the baby, you're just maintaining the e-com thing at that point. Like you could have stepped away, like physically speaking, and like things would have been fine, but you had a new storefront. And obviously, you know, you need someone that's like a ride or die, such as your husband, to like step up and be in that zone, because you couldn't be.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, so he took 2 weeks off and we just kind of like ran our lives together. Now, mind you, he took 2 weeks off of his job for paternity leave because we had Stark, but there was no maternity leave for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he sat around. I'm not implying that at all. Like he was away from his job helping me and helping me build the store. But like
he didn't have like the firsthand knowledge of like what a day in the life of running these businesses looks like, right? Because he was doing his own company and
Yes.
you had the company. And
Yeah.
you're probably, I mean, I would imagine it kind of looks like you training him through your maternity leave or having to still be involved in decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that I think was so hard for us navigating him working somewhere else versus me is like, even though he had a general understanding of what was happening in the business, when I would try to come home and kind of like explain cash flow movement or inventory purchasing or all these things, like it was just like there wasn't never enough time for us in the evenings for him to sit down and like really understand everything. So it was like I wanted him to be the confidant and the person, like the sounding board for me to discuss through things, but really and truly, because he wasn't immersed in it enough, it was like there was always missing pieces of information that like were kind of hard to put the whole puzzle piece together, you know? So we were like, this is what we need. This is gonna be good for our family. And so I opened Ruthie Grace, the storefront, December 9th. His last day of work at his other job was like Christmas Eve, December 24th. Yeah. So it was like boom, boom, boom. And then we turned around and just went straight into 2021. And that was a good year for us. 2021 was a good year for us. Sales were good. But immediately, I had this idea about a men's store back in 2020 before I opened my women's store. And I basically was like looking at the men's industry and I was like, okay, what I do in women's clothing doesn't exist in men's clothing anywhere.
I agree.
This idea of like new styles, new fun, like brick and mortar, shoes, everything under one roof. I was like, it doesn't exist. And I felt like I could capitalize on a market that was ready to receive it. And the only way I knew it would work is if we basically opened the storefront right next to Ruthie Grace, because we had to basically be able to pull on our existing clientele to shift them into that storefront. So the middle of 2021 rolls around and our landlord calls and is like, hey, there's literally one spot left in this whole retail center for you to lease. So you've told me about your idea for a men's store. If you guys want to do it, like, here's your shot.
Yeah.
And at this point, Jordan had been working with us for 6 months and, you know, he was learning things, but it was kind of like, you know, this would be a really great avenue for him to like have his own thing. Like not just work at a women's clothing store or help me run the finances. Like he's always like clothes. He's always been really well dressed. Like this would be a great thing for him to do. And so we decided that we were going to open our men's store, which was called Forged 86. And, we decided, and that's when we started moving forward with that. And so Forged actually opened April of 2022. So it was about a year-long process of like buying clothes, building out the storefront. But what started happening, I think this time of frame is like what's really interesting, especially if we go back to running businesses and babies.
Yeah.
And when I look back at that time in my life, I don't know, out of all 3 kids, I actually feel like I missed out more on Stark's life than the other 2 because there was so much of me that was required to, I was the online store, the storefront. I was the full-time buyer for the business. I was the visionary of all of that while running the finances, as well as trying to be the person that was kind of helping carry this vision for Forged. And I think that's where, and Jordan, he would say this if he was sitting here, we really weren't on the same page about Forged. I think I thought it was something that he could have, that he could own. And I think he thought that, but I'm still like the expert in fashion and clothes. So therefore I was going to be the vision behind it.
Yeah.
And I think I thought I could, you know, in some capacity. I think I thought I could just be almost like an advisory level for the business. It was ours, but like he could be able to be like the one running it. But I was running 3 businesses and I had 3 kids and my older 2 were in school full time and Stark had a full-time nanny. And I literally felt like the nanny raised him more than I did.
I get that. Yeah. We have a nanny too. And like, there's certainly like seasons of life where I'm just like, I feel like, do you ever feel like you can kind of like you get obviously frustrated with the business, but it's also like we built the business, you know what I mean? So you can get like frustrated maybe with like yourself or like, or at the business when really it's like, it's not the business. It's like we built the business, but it's hard to know, like, especially when you're in the middle of building it or you're before you're building it, like what it's going to require or need of you. Like it's kind of unknown. And you throw an unplanned pregnancy in the mix or even a planned pregnancy in the mix, like Hendrix, you know, or Memphis. And just so much can change in business, especially a small business, in even a 9-month period of time.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of feels like when you're pregnant, and I don't know if you feel this way, but especially if it is planned or unplanned, like you have a time clock. Like you are due on X date and like you have to get all your shit together before that date, like well before that date, so that you can attempt to have a maternity leave. And that is like so much pressure. And so many people think like, oh, you're going to take maternity leave and be off. I'm like, you think I'm off? I'm going to physically be in the building. My freaking brain is not off. Like I have so much on my mind and so many worries because did you ever feel like during your maternity leave, like, and each maternity leave is so different. Like for me too, it's so different. So I feel like it was very much like, okay, I want to trust like the team and my spouse and everyone to like carry everything. But at the same time, it's difficult to be fully present in the maternity leave because you don't want to disconnect so much to where you have this big mess to clean up when you come back.
Sure.
Salon owners, this is your moment. SalonCon 2026 is happening in Miami, January 24th through the 27th. This is the ultimate event to bring your A players. Leave all your B's and C's at home. Not only will they get it certified in a brand new extension method, they'll also learn the sales and marketing strategies that actually grow revenue and keep your clients coming back for more. This is a 3-day event of high-level education, luxury networking, and powerhouse speakers, all designed to future-proof your business. Bring your team, elevate your business. Join us at SalonCon Miami, where millions are made. Get your tickets in the description below. Now back to the episode. It's hard to explain.
It's hard to explain, and it's hard to explain. You can't detach from the pressure.
Yeah.
So like even though you're physically maybe not there or you're at home or recovering, the intensity, the weight of the responsibility and the pressure, it just doesn't leave you. In fact, it almost feels heavier in that season while you're trying to kind of figure out how to recover and recoup. And honestly, like, I don't know if you feel this way, but I would kind of be like, truthfully, I am mentally better if I just go back to work. Like, if I just keep going.
It's almost, for me, it was like an identity crisis, if you will. It's like everyone's trying to take everything. And it's like the team was great. My husband's great. Like, trying to like, hey, you go do this, go relax, go rest, go be with the baby. And then I'm like, but I don't know how to do that. Like, I'm not, I don't ever get to do that, you know? And honestly, the reason I had Hendrix, I'm going to try to say this without crying. The reason I had Hendrix is obviously I wanted to have a child with Drew, you know, just because like we didn't have any kids like together. But I also wanted another chance at motherhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. And it's interesting because although I did have that other chance of motherhood, I still felt like I fucked it up again. And so I had Memphis, you know? Oh, any moms on the freaking episode listening to this, like, sorry if you're ugly girl crying, but I mean, it's so hard if you like have kids and you like, you totally get it. I think what I have really tried hard to do this year is like just eliminate the guilt and shame and just pressure that I put on myself. Which is like so me putting it on myself. Like Drew and the team would never be like, you know, like giving me shit for like being with the baby and not being at work or, you know, whatever. Like, but I also think I experienced a little bit of what I'm about to say with my salon team, I would say, because they were just so used to me being around. And I had to have a hard conversation with not my stylist, but with my management team at one point. I said, I need you guys to stop comparing me to who I was and how I was 3 years ago. That Rachel didn't have babies. That Rachel was fully immersed, rolled up her sleeves in business, had only one business, and now Rachel has 11 entities. Like, you can't compare me to her. It's not fair. You know, I compare me to her anyway. Like,
yeah, I'm already doing the hard work for you.
Yeah, and it's like not fair. And so but it was almost like in the exact moment that I said those words, you know, sometimes you just kind of like this prophetic thing that happens and you just like say these words and you're like, whoa, like you have this realization. That's kind of how it was. And I was like, I'm doing that to me. And because I'm doing that to me, I'm showing them that can be done to me. You know what I mean? And so that was like really difficult. Was I had to realize by me being an example of like treating myself, talking to myself this way, holding myself to this impossible standard when I had completely different time requirements and bandwidth and everything, I'm still like trying to hold myself to that level of work, which was extremely unhealthy anyway.
Right.
And because I'm doing that and there's moments of that showing up in my daily life with my team and comments I make or this or that, I'm teaching them to treat me that way.
Right.
And when I put it that way, they literally had tears in their eyes. They're like, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize that like that was going on.
doing that.
And I'm like, well, neither did I, because I was doing it too. You know, it's like, it was difficult to put words to it, honestly. And when I was able to put words to it, I was like, damn, like I just hit the nail on the head.
For yourself.
Yeah.
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 I honestly,
crazy.
when you say you want another chance at motherhood, like, gosh, I've said that so much recently. Like, I've said it so much to Jordan. It's like I've thrown out, I'm like, maybe one day we could adopt. And like, just literally, because I so badly sometimes wish I got a do-over. I just wish I got a do-over, and I wish I could be present, because it's the weirdest thing, because you're physically there, but your mental presence is just not there. And when I look back at Stark's life, there are gaps in my memory as to what I remember about certain stages of his life, because I was so just busy. And
I totally understand that.
It's like I blocked it out.
Like autopilot, or like you're just kind of like, you're there, you're doing stuff, you're physically there, you're talking, walking, it looks like you, talks like you, but like you're not like actively participating in the day in like in just like a present way, you know?
Well, and I think One of the hardest things I think about building businesses and raising babies in today's time is the accessibility that we have in the digital world, in the internet world. I mean, it's like we can do, it's this beautiful thing in the sense that it allows us to like ebb and flow and move throughout our day and carve time out to do work at different times. We're like not restricted to a specific working time. We can do things on the fly right before we go into a children's Christmas program. Like I was literally doing that earlier. And that's a great thing. But where the negative falls is like, it's really hard. Like you can't just cut it off. Like, you know, like used to before phones and internet were so busy, I'm sure, I'm speaking because I didn't live in this time, but I'm sure if someone had a thought about work after hours, they probably like wrote it down
on a notebook.
and then they would address it the next day.
Yeah.
Well, now it's like the second you have a thought, you can go Slack it or send it in Basecamp or shoot off an email or whatever. And so trying to navigate through these boundaries of holding space for being present in the moment versus being like the pressure of working and being the CEO, like they're just so blended. And so you constantly are asking yourself, like, how do I do this well? What does doing this well look like? What does success running these businesses and raising babies look like?
I think there's also like, especially when you're an entrepreneur and like you're obviously there's a level of competitiveness for sure. Like maybe for me, it's not with others, it's with myself.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like if I don't know the answer to something, I go seek the answer and I have to know. I have to close that loop, you know? And so I think with achievement, you know, and I've learned this, like I've put a ton of effort into researching non-work related things, but like, of course I apply it to work. But like achievement, when you constantly can move the goalposts further and further away, where like, you know, where you're not, and I do this too. I have a very difficult time, unless I like am actively really being intentional about like basking in that time of actually enjoying what I'm creating.
Right.
And it's just on to the next. And so you think you're going to like feel this way, you know, or behave this way or have more time or this or that when you get to where you say you're going, but you just keep going. You know what I mean? And then I don't know. I know. It's so strange.
It's so strange. One thing that I try to do, I don't do it every day, but I try to make a habit of it pretty regularly. I read it in a book called Relentless Solution Focus. And what I do is every night I write out what I'm going to do, that my 3 main priorities for the next day. And I like write it down and I circle like my must do. Mm-hmm. And then the other 2 are like, would be great if I did. Yeah. And I write it down. And the act of writing it down, like pen to paper, really like translates it and brings it to reality. And I actually set this list, like I just used like notebook paper and I set it right next to my coffee pot. Okay. So it's like I write it at night and then I go to my coffee pot in the morning and now I'm rereading what I wrote. And then late in the afternoon before I go to bed, sometimes right before I write the list for the next day, I write what I call my done wells. So like I basically acknowledge the things that I'm proud of myself for doing that way that day. Awesome. Like the things that I did that I felt like I was accomplished, because hear me when I say this, in motherhood and in business, I think this is applicable to both roles that you can play. You will never feel like your work is complete.
Well, and I also feel like you don't get the pat on the back that you are especially when you're the owner of the business or you're co-owning the home, you know, with the kids. It's rare to get a job well done pat on the back from like the people that you're with the most and the closest, which is kind of odd. You know, it's very rare. My kids are like, "Mom, you did a great job." You know, like
thanks for working for us today and providing our income. Yeah,
I know. I feel like it's just the complaint department all the time, especially lately. I love Kenzie to pieces, but I'm like, girl, like you just had 2 friends spend the night. You had Chick-fil-A DoorDash last night. You got to go to you went to volleyball practice. You went to youth group at church. We picked you up and let you sleep until 11 a.m. And now you're hitting me up for something else. And now you're upset with me because I said no. Like, come on, you know, but I also have to, at least we can kind of reference back to like how I treated my mom growing up. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's the age, but it's difficult to, Brooks got to witness it firsthand today. It was juicy. It's just difficult to, I think I'm going to start doing that. What you just said, like your job well done, of like you acknowledging yourself for doing something well done. Cause I don't ever really acknowledge myself for anything that I'm doing that's well done or even like great.
It's so, the framing of the book was like, you have to move towards a solution. Mm-hmm. Because if you're only ever focused on the problem, like you're never going to move forward. You're going to be paralyzed. It's like, so you have to focus on the solution. So I write out the done wells as if I'm moving towards the solution that I want. And the solution that I want is like, I want to raise children that are kind, respectable, love the Lord, love me. Like I desire so much this goes back to defining what success is and defining what impact looks like. And I'm telling you, every day you're going to feel like the impact isn't there. But for me, I look forward, I'm like, what is the impact that I want to make in my children's life and then what I want their lives to do? And I'm a believer in like, I believe that our calling in this world is to love God and love people. Mm-hmm. And I want my children to be a light on a hill in a dark world. Mm-hmm. It's a dark world out there.
Totally.
And I feel very responsible for being the mother that raises the warriors to fight for the truth of the gospel. Mm-hmm. Like I want my kids to be warriors with their foundation of who they are and how they show up in the world. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the most cleanly, like organized person, or that they're going to have the best grades, or that they're going to be the best athlete. Like it like in some capacities, teaching cleanliness, hygiene, respect, work ethic, grades, education, like a lot of those things matter. But ultimately, I just really anchor myself to like, what do I want for my children in this world? And I want them to be a light on a hill. Mm-hmm. And I want the light of the Holy Spirit to shine brighter than the dark circumstances that can encamp and surround about them. And so I just look for that fruit.
Yeah.
And some days I find it and some days I don't. Yeah. And I think that's the same thing in business is like, what am I really doing? For me, in my business, when I first started my business, I started Ruthie Grace because I graduated in 2009 during the financial crisis. And I had a full college degree. I almost graduated with honors. I was 0.1 away from graduating with honors. Very studious. I worked and grinded my whole life for my grades. Like I did not want to break rules. I didn't want to get in trouble. I mean, I was like, someone said jump, I'd say how high. Like I was like, I was going to do it. And the financial crisis hit and I couldn't find a job for my life.
Yeah.
It didn't matter all those years of work I'd put and invested in my education and all that stuff I did. Didn't matter because the economy got to make the determination, not me, not my work. And I ended up getting a job as a customer service rep in insurance. And while I like the people I worked with, I'm telling you right now, if someone's working in insurance under customer service, you need to like be kind to them because their job is to just try to be nice to you, but they have no control over what happens with your insurance. And it's just a terrible job. People are always mad when they call you. Mm. And I was like, this is not the dream. This is not the American dream.
Doesn't look like bright days ahead.
This is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
This is not what I paid $80,000 to go to a college at Texas A&M University for. Like I mean, I'm glad I found my husband there.
Right.
But
you got a beautiful ring too, that class ring.
Oh yeah.
I actually just learned about ring wraps, but go ahead.
Oh really?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, huh?
Yeah.
But I mean, I was just like, I felt so lied to in a way. And so I had some friends. I met some friends. Actually, one of the girls' name was Tara, and they had opened a boutique. And this was like when social media was really coming on the scene. And people were starting to put their businesses on social media. So it was still like people had Facebook pages and they were people, but people were making their businesses a person.
Yeah.
And every time you posted something, people would see it.
Yeah.
Like there was no such thing as an algorithm at that point.
The good old days.
Yeah. So these girls were doing this amazing thing with this boutique and they were posting their outfits on Facebook and people were just booming.
I remember the whole live selling thing. That was insane.
Oh, that's still around.
Yeah. Well, now it's back. Yes. Yes, for sure. Especially lately.
Oh yeah. Gary Vee's a huge proponent for it.
Yes, he is.
But So I was watching what they were doing and I was like, okay, I've never worked retail in my life, but I know 2 things about myself. Number 1, I love clothes. I've loved clothes since I was little. I had every edition of InStyle magazine for 4 straight years. I mean, like, I loved clothes. Number 2, I like people. I was like, so surely those 2 skill sets can get me far enough.
Yes.
And so I basically put together a business plan and showed my husband. And the job he had at the time was providing our living, like our housing. And then he was obviously getting a salary. It wasn't much, but I was like, I can do this. And it kind of bought us some time to not have to have the financial burden, even though we lived on like literally rice and beans for a long time. That's how I got started, because I just had a bigger vision. And so the vision for Ruthie Grace, all that to be said, was like, I knew that this business could provide the financial security and the legacy of passing down some kind of business to my family. And that's what I looked at as I would go, okay, what is like Brooke said, like we're talking about earlier, we're talking about family business, right? And it's like, I want Ruthie Grace to be a family business. Like, I know I have 3 boys, but I want to build something that has a legacy behind it, because I want to be able to pass it on to my children. I want it to be valuable enough that they can choose to continue to run it, or they can choose to sell it and use it for an investment opportunity. I mean, there's a lot of things out there. So like, that's what I show up and fight for. But honestly, when you narrow it down to the day to day, the hour by hour, it's really hard to say, okay, I know I'm fighting for this business, but my kids are also in the here and now. So like, where do I place my time, my energy, my effort? Like,
it's hard. It's hard to, because we were talking about this, like, obviously before we started rolling today, but it was like having that kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't type of thing with yourself, where you're like, and no one else is saying this to you, and like no one else is saying this to me, but it's just like, when you're a mother and you own businesses and you have kids, like, you understand what we're saying. It's like, if you're fully present with your family, you know, when you open the laptop, there's going to be a bunch of crap that you have to deal with, or other things you have to get back into. And then, you know, there's sometimes, I mean, blessing, like if and when my laptop dies or my computer or internet cuts off, I'm like, you know what? This was great timing. I'm going to go be a mom, you know? But it's difficult to be present one place or another, because it's hard to shut down those tabs. What I have found, which might be helpful for anyone listening, is trying to build transition time in between being a business owner and then being a mom or being a wife, and trying to have those moments where you just sit, there's no device, no phone, computer, nothing. And then if you can get silence, cool. If you can take a walk around the block, cool. But just being able to just try and come down from the work high that you're on, because you know it's like it's a thing. And then like, but almost, I feel like for me, I've had a hard time in the past where I could prefer the work high over being actually like super immersed and like feeling loved and everything with my family, just because it almost can seem, it can seem not as exciting. Is that a weird thing to describe?
No, I think,
but it's like, it should be preferred over business. And there's been times in my life in different seasons where I find myself preferring business more than
motherhood.
Yeah. And that's just like a really shitty place to be. Like, and it's hard to admit. And it's like, and I had to figure out, I still am in a daily pursuit of this, is like, why do I do that sometimes? You know what I mean? I think it's just reverting back to like old workaholic behaviors.
I have a lot to say on this.
Yeah.
Okay. First, I think we have to first ask ourselves, we have created, I think a lot of us can speak to this idealistic version of what good motherhood looks like.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's this ideal motherhood where we've basically been like, okay, well, good mothers, the ones that love motherhood, they look like this, they act like this, they think like this, they do this, they serve in this capacity, like all these things. And
they have dinner on the table every night.
Yeah, like, or I mean, honestly, like I have felt, I'm being very honest. If somebody was to say, Tara, where are you more confident in, motherhood or business owner? I would be like 100% owning a business.
Yeah.
I feel more confident as a CEO than I do as a mother. And I actually grew up dreaming of business and marriage. And I did know that I wanted children when I was growing up, but I don't think I like daydreamed about it.
I didn't either. I didn't know if I'd ever have kids, and I got pregnant at 19.
Yeah. So it's like, I think there's like this thing that where we feel like we almost think that we should feel a certain way when we're in this role of motherhood. And we should look a certain way, and we should do a certain thing, and we should feel a certain way. And if we don't fit the mold that we've created, it's like something's wrong with me, or I'm missing something. And what I think it comes back to a lot of like your love language in a way. And like, honestly, if your love language is acts of service, then it would make sense that like probably a lot of times those women are the ones that like have kind of built up that idealistic motherhood role that a lot of us that don't have those characteristics don't fit. I know that my love language is not act of service. Like I like to be in charge. I like to be a leader. I like to give directions. Like, you know, I am a loving person, and I'm very sensitive. So like I have a lot of empathy for people and things like that. But I mean, I've never been someone who can sit on the floor and play with my kids for hours. Like I can't. It's like actually hard for me. So I think
it feels like time passes so slow during that part of the day, like when you're doing that. Or like in the morning, Memphis and I are doing tummy time, and after like 5 minutes, I'm like, okay,
we're done.
Like let's move to the bouncer.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I even tried babysitting when I was younger, and I did not like it.
Yeah.
You know?
Me too.
So
I like the money, but I didn't like the
Yeah.
but
see, isn't that it though? That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
But I don't think that means we're disqualified to be good mothers.
Oh, I completely agree.
You know?
I think what we have to do is redefine what that looks like for us.
Yeah.
And like be able to like there's certain things that I teach my kids that like they're definitely never going to get anywhere else, you know, like like how to strategically look for clues inside of the questions on their, you know, all their homework, endless amounts of homework they have. And I'm like, why are you reading the story first and then going to the questions? Let's read the questions first. That way, when we read the story, we
know
have
what we're looking for.
We know what we're looking for. We have like, I'm more scrappy, you know what I mean? So there's like a lot of stuff like that I've taught my kids, or like being resourceful, you know, thinking outside the box, like all of that kind of stuff. You know, and so I think when we can acknowledge, like rid ourselves of like this fake motherhood thing that like there is a one size fits all, you know, version of what that is, and trying to fit into that, which clearly is not a fit for everyone, and being able to redefine, you know, that for ourselves. I also think that it's important for our spouse to be on the same page with us in that too, because, and I experienced this with my first marriage. You know, his mom was very much like stay-at-home mom, food on the dinner or dinner on the table every night. You know, very like servant, do all the laundry, all the dishes, the house is clean, like, you know, and kind of stay quiet. Well, I am very much not the quiet type, but I do I can totally cook a good meal, but I'm not cooking every night. I think this kind of leads me into one of the questions I wanted to ask you was like when we're redefining these things, number one, we have to be able to like get to a place where we can acknowledge that, like, that number one, that's okay. And that we aren't failing at motherhood by doing that. We are creating a more compatible version of motherhood that's more natural, more of a natural fit for us and our family. And we're, you know, getting rid of the shame and guilt and everything that we're putting on ourselves. A lot of it will come from ourselves. It's not going to so much come from others.
Right.
And then I think the other thing is like being able to create, I hate the word balance. It's such a fake word.
I hate it.
It's a rhythm to me. I like rhythm, because rhythm, there's just like, there's a momentum to it. There's like a repetitiveness to it. It's more, you can anticipate like when the next beat's going to hit kind of thing. So I almost envision, I prefer rhythm over balance. So like what rhythms have you found in your life, or like things to support, you know, you being a working mom, and you love being I know you love your business, and I know you like I'm not stay-at-home mom material. I don't feel like you are either. Like that's just how we are. But what rhythms do you think help, in the sense of like whether it helps you, it helps the family, it helps your home, it helps things just move better? I feel like they're always going to change too, because like,
Yeah.
though they won't work forever, but they work for like the different seasons that you're in.
Well, I feel like I'm in a really different season right now than I have been in a long time because my husband's stepping into kind of some construction. I'm actually homeschooling the older two. So like, I know that sounds like a version of insanity. And honestly, the homeschooling part has not been the hard part. It's not the actual school because my kids are doing really well with the schooling. It's trying to find ways to fill their time after the school is done. That is the most challenging.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think about like how many hours that they are away at school. Like Evan actually he got accepted into Legacy. So he's going from being in 5-day-a-week school to now 3-day-a-week. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like, and I mean, poor guy. He's been out the door by 7:45 in the morning, doesn't get off the bus till 5:15. I mean, I feel like I've missed so much of his life just from him going to regular school. And then when I did the math, I'm like, how many hours I'm going to gain back with him each year? I'm like, this is so cool. And that's just hybrid school, not necessarily homeschool.
So
like,
I guess what I'm saying is like I have zero alone time. When I say zero, I mean like the fact that I'm here with you for 2 hours by myself without is like.
Well, I know I texted you. I was like, bring a kid or 2 or 3. I know. I got a babysitter and we got a playground.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that I'm alone is like crazy. But that rhythm actually seems to work for us in some capacity right now because it is giving us a lot of face time and we're around each other a lot. And while it is hard, I always think to myself, I don't know, like it is very challenging and I don't even know if it's the best thing. Like I'm very open to the Lord telling me to do something different. I'm not like anti-public school. I'm not any of those things.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to navigate what's the best situation for our family. And again, it's like we have so many choices nowadays. In some capacity, it makes it harder. Like, there's so much more to research, so much more to think about, so many decisions to make. And like it all just builds. But right now, part of the reason I pulled my kids out of school was because I couldn't keep up with the demands of the school. Like I couldn't even keep up with the teacher requirements and the projects and the homework and the crazy sock day and hair day and like
it's like every freaking day there's something. It's crazy.
That was honestly the hardest part. And then the other hardest part was that when we first started homeschooling, Cruz was getting sick a lot. And we found out he had 3 kinds of strep, like reoccurring strep. And we found out.
I feel like this is Evan. Like they're so similar.
Really?
Like, we've had strep 3 times in the last 6 weeks.
So what
Me
we
too.
did. Serious? Oh yeah. So what I did, I literally pulled him out of school in November, and from some suggestions of other homeschooling parents and some people that I respect that are kind of in the medical community, they said, de-school him. Like. Day school him. Don't even try to jump back in. Like, just let it all go and let him sleep as much as his body needs and rest. Like, do nothing.
That makes total sense because it's like so much time away.
He has not had strep since then.
Gosh.
He has not been sick one time.
Wow.
I have not had a fever.
I'm learning so much now.
I have not had a fever, a runny nose, Rachel, since almost November of 2024.
Dang. Sold.
But I mean, it doesn't mean
his
that
last day of school is tomorrow, actually, at public school.
Really?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's, it's just been but it has its hardships too.
Yeah.
I mean, but my kids they sleep till 7:30, 8 o'clock every morning, which kids in public school don't get to do that. Especially my oldest son, he would be in junior high. He'd have to be at school by 7:15. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it ebbs and flows. It's definitely harder on me. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It would be easier if they were out of school and I had the whole working day to myself.
Yeah.
So I ask myself all the time, like, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right choice? Is this what my kids need?
I think every parent wonders that. And I think the only way to truly know is like to just do the decision that like pray about it, of course, like ask God to reveal to you the clearest path forward of what you need to do, even if it's not easier, and then obviously being able to just kind of check in with, in this case, with him or you and your husband of like, okay, how does this feel for us? Like, does this feel like, too much? And like, we've actually considered homeschooling Ollie because his grades are like really bad, like real bad. Like he really shouldn't even have moved on to 4th grade. His teacher, and all the stuff that, unfortunately we were dealing with with his mom, you know, when she was going in rehab and stuff. She's doing really well right now, which is great. And she's actually pregnant. I'm really happy for her. She's been sober for over a year now. And it's like when she's doing good, he's doing good, you know, but because he lacks those foundational skills from 2nd and 3rd grade, the fact that he's now in 4th grade, it's like, well, no wonder he's failing everything. You know what I mean? So Drew and I actually this week, we were talking about potentially homeschooling Ollie, and Drew's like, we're going to have to, you know, hire a teacher and this and that. And I'm like, a part of me, the ambitious side of me is like, why do we need to hire a teacher? Like, I can do it. But at the same time, I'm like, who am I kidding? Like, you know, I'm about to have to be a co-teacher to now Evan, him going to Legacy. I'm going to have to be like co-teacher, making sure he's getting his stuff done. And so I was like, okay, let's let Ollie finish the school year. Let's have a meeting with the teachers. Let's let him finish the school year. Let me get like, you know, the next semester under my belt, like helping Evan, making sure he's like good to go. Because Evan's like great student. He'll be fine, makes all A's. And then maybe next year we can, when Ollie has to change schools anyway, maybe we can consider homeschool at that time. But long term, I don't want to be homeschooling people, like personally. Like,
I know.
I just want it, and I also don't want them like glued to a tablet at the same time, because that's addicting too.
That is, if I'm being totally honest, that is our biggest struggle right now. Is because I don't know how to fill their time because I have to work, and so they end up watching TV or playing video games, and I'm like, this is the problem that I'm facing. Is like, okay, they haven't been sick in a year, but in their spare time they're watching TV or playing video games when, you know, they could be.
When you can only kick even a whole hour and a half of soccer outside each day, it's kind of a lot of soccer, you know?
Yeah.
You know, they go and kick the ball around so many times, you know?
So I'm just trying to navigate what's best. And I don't know that I have the answer, you know? It's like, okay. I don't have it all figured out. I don't think anybody does. If someone tells you they have it all figured out, they're lying.
Or their kids are off to college and they're done. It's definitely something that I think that I hope anybody listening to this gets the idea that they're not alone, number one. And two, I think we just all have to do our best and not compare ourselves to other versions of our best that we've had in the past when our life and just our capacity was just much different. And I think you just need to be like, and not, I think as long as everyone's doing something to like actively seeking, like trying to better their lives and themselves, I think that right there is enough, you know? And
I'd agree.
Instead of just throwing your hands up and like, well, this is my circumstances, you know, and this is how it is. And just not being willing to try anything different. I think you for sure, it is trial and error to figure out what works. And what works for you or works for me may not be an exact copy paste in someone else's life, you know?
Yeah.
But for sure, I think the thing for me, and I know for you, you're of a very strong faith, is like just giving it to God. If like you don't have the answer and you don't know what to do, like, and you feel like you've done it all and just not get anywhere, you just have to give it up to God and just let Him deal with it. And sometimes what happens, most times, is that, you know, you pray for certain things, like you pray for a big life, you pray for, you know, success, you pray for a huge influx of sales or this or that. Like it doesn't show up the way that you think it does. Like it's different, you know, and it's one of those things like you have to just adapt and like be fluid with it. And I think for people to just understand that like it's an ongoing pursuit, to just kind of like just to go down that path and just do the best you can as you go along. You know, and I certainly make mistakes literally all the time. Like I even felt guilty today. Like Kenzie's the one that should feel guilty, not me. But I feel guilty because I'm like, I even told Brooks, I'm like, gosh, I hope she realizes like how much it really does bother me. Like when she's not happy with me, you know, it does like, it sucks because I think about it throughout the day. And at the end of the day, it's like she had this, she got this, got everything she wanted except this one thing, and now she's upset with me. But it's like I'm her mother first, you know what I mean? And I have to make decisions that are for the betterment of her, whether she fully understands it right now or not. Very much like how, you know, in our life we're making decisions and we may not understand why we're making them, but I think instinctually and like spiritually we're making certain decisions for the betterment of ourselves in our life. And I think later down the road we'll understand. So I mean, you could for sure look back in your life and be like, yeah, like I made those decisions and I understand now why I did, or I understand why things didn't work out so easy for me. you know?
Totally.
Where can people keep up with you? Because I feel like there's a lot of moms listening that totally see themselves inside your story. Where can people find you? Like on Instagram? Where can they find you?
Details. Okay. So I am semi-active on my own personal Instagram at Tara Grace Austin.
I feel like you are active for sure.
Okay,
I
I'm
watch all
active.
your stories.
Okay. I'm active. I wish I was more consistent. Like I'm like the person that like binges and does a bunch of Instagram content and then I like
fall off the earth for a few days.
and I'm like, I don't want to do it.
I feel like it's one of those things though that do you have to recharge after you do all that?
1,000%.
Me too.
It's my ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
Which I recently just got diagnosed. So it's been a game changer for me.
I think that's good. There's
yeah.
a lot of creative people who are ADHD.
Yeah. At Tara Grace Austin is my personal, and then my business is at Shop Ruthie Grace, IE Grace. So those are the two places you can find me, or you can come visit our storefront. We are in Montgomery on Eva Street, right
Montgomery,
across,
Texas.
Yeah, right across from Kroger. So, but yeah, that's where I am. So, and I'm always available to chat. You can send me a DM. I'd love it if you listen to this and you find anything that feels like, wow, you're really speaking to me. It always feels good to know that you're not alone. So
Totally. Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. I love you to pieces. I'm so glad we got to hang out. This was like obviously like short notice, but you made it happen. And
this was like a date, kind of. Like it was like
we've been talking about hanging out forever. And
yeah,
then
so we just got to film a podcast to hang out together.
We just have to make it work related, right? We'll both show up for that.
Yeah, we will.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening and for watching, and we'll see you all on the next episode.